Industry, labor, government in crunch talks. We get that and more in Morning's Markets. Partners to the tripartite negotiating forum met in Harare on Wednesday to discuss an array of issues, including the welfare of employees, the business environment, as well as government policies. The major highlight from the meeting was the supply chain disruption in the retail sector. Ibn Mabunda attended the meeting.
Now, one of the biggest retail giants in Zimbabwe recently closed 4 of its branches with no indication if they will reopen. Now, this begs the question what this means for these employees and for the families they represented. Now, that's just a representation of how the formal sector of the Zimbabwean economy has come under pressure over the past 9 months. It is against this background that the tripartite negotiating forum TNF partners held a meeting in the capital today. The aim was to deliberate on challenges faced by industry and map the way forward. For labor representatives, their interests were obvious: workers' welfare and safeguarding jobs.
The worker mostly is not interested in the intricacies of the economy and all this jargon that we are hearing. It doesn't really matter to the worker, because what the worker wants is to earn their salary, go into that shop and see whether their money is buying. And that's all that matters to the worker.
Economist Prosper Chitambara provided insights into the macroeconomic conditions affecting business viability. He stressed the need for a balance between policy reforms and economic resilience.
The tax regime is very, very complicated. And obviously that also then promotes the tax avoidance and tax evasion. Not only complicated, but also it's very, very onerous.
Moses Shuhuri, SPAR Corporate Affairs Executive, highlighted risks faced by retailers, particularly supply chain disruptions and inflationary pressures affecting consumer demand.
Mr. Zera, can you please allow me to in the solar plant? Mrs. Zera tells you, before you talk of buying a solar kit, whatever, I need $100,000 just for licenses.
The Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers underscored the urgent need for policy clarity to restore investor confidence in the retail space.
Currently, for a supermarket to be fully compliant with regards to licenses, it requires just over 30 licenses in their operation, which have accumulated a cost of 15,000 USD per year. And that's a lot just on licensing for the operation of a supermarket.
From a government perspective, the idea was to listen to the concerns from industry and forge a way forward.
One of the driving factors which has led us to have this forum today are the economic challenges we are facing in our economy. Of late, we have had instances of the shops in the retail sector closing, and that has got implications on labor or the retrenchments.
As Zimbabwe navigates economic challenges, the TNF remains a critical platform for consensus building between government, business and labor. Stakeholders now look to implement actionable solutions to prevent further company closures while fostering economic growth and employment security. Ibn Mabunda for ZTN Prime in Harare.
30 licenses to operate, 100,000 for you to have solar.
Right.
Just for you to operate. Even in my view, in my own hunch, I think that's unsustainable.
Unsustainable is the right phrase there. Key to this particular meeting, the tripartite negotiating forum, this is where you've got the labor aspect of the economy. You also have got business and you've got government. The key concerns there were how to address the company closures that we are witnessing. We saw in 2024 several companies going under corporate rescue to cite Bindura Nickel Corporation, Truworths, and we saw the closures of several companies, Metro Peach, and in the start of 2025, we've seen closures of 4 branches by N. Richards, the closure of a branch by Spar, the closure of 4 OK branches without any indication of whether these will reopen. And so what brought this conversation to the fore is how can we stop these closures from going on? And so business has been quite clear that in order for them to stay in business, there is need to streamline the tax heads that are being witnessed across the economy. There are up to 17 tax heads for tourism players in the country. There are 30 licenses that one is to obtain to operate a retail outlet in the country. And you've got different agencies, including Emma, that would charge you preposterous figures just for you to run a diesel generator. So business finds itself between a rock and a hard place just to keep afloat.
I see this is cutting across various ministries.
It is.
I'm having solar because I don't have power. I'm having a diesel generator because I don't have power.
Yes, and
Emma, I don't think Emma then comes and penalizes
yes,
me.
Emma will come and penalize
and
you.
say you are emitting carbon.
So how does a business keep afloat given those set of conditions? Now, one of the key presentations was by economist Prosper Chitambara, who's featured, of course, on our business program, The Mint, several times. And he said when you compare Zimbabwe against other countries, you'd find that Zimbabwe is the 3rd most taxing country in Africa, with up to 51 taxes. When you compare that with Zambia, where the average number of licenses and taxes that you've got to pay is about 11. But here in Zimbabwe, we've got up to 51. 51. When you look in terms of the mining sector, there is a 69% rate of license and tax payment when compared to other jurisdictions that average about maybe 30 to 40. So this goes to speak to just how government needs to step to the fore at this particular point and make it easy for businesses to actually operate in Zimbabwe. Otherwise, this spells disaster going into the future, given the number of closures that have been witnessed right up to this point.
True, Eben. Government has to step up, and we do hope that something, as we go along, something will happen. Government may do something just to make the business environment easier than what is obtaining currently now.
Konapo, ipapo.